Alright guys, I want to welcome you all back to some more of The Great Ace Attorney 2. And currently, we are in the workshop of Mr. Enoch Drebber trying to figure out what on earth is going on and who is behind that closed door. Which is pretty much, we can guess who that is already, but you never know, right? So, if anything else guys, I hope you all continue to enjoy watching, and let's get right back into it. Alright guys, and we are back. Nothing for it, I suppose. This is an emergency. There's a strong possibility that beyond that door is the engineer you all seek. Be prepared for action, my dear fellow. Yes! I'm seeing a piece of timed dynamite. What's happened in here? Why is everything upside down? Rats! There ain't no one in here after all. But there must be. It was only moments ago that we heard those noises. Maybe that was the sound of Drebber running away. But there's only one door into this room. And no windows that could afford an escape route. Those skylights are too high. What's that up there? Are they footprints on the ceiling? Blow me, what have we here then? I skipped it, hold on. Looks like someone was trying to burn something in a hurry. Oh, that looks like a set of blueprints. To what? To that Professor Hairbrain's barming machine, is it? Blimey! If we had these, there would have been no need to muck about trying to investigate all that scrap metal. There is something of great interest here, too. This rope was lying on the floor at the foot of that pillar. A rope? What's significant about that? Never mind. You see, but you do not observe Mr. Naruhodo. We must investigate the entire room thoroughly, and before the forensic investigation team arrive too. Okay, sure. Mr. Sholmes, have you found something? Ah, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, in point of fact, something rather fascinating. What do you make of this? Let's see. Never seen anything like it before. Mr. Sato, what's the matter? That's a... Surely that's a time bomb, isn't it? What? Did you say? A time bomb? Oh, sorry, but what is a time bomb exactly? Huh? You truly are one of a kind, Mr. Naruhodo. I won't take that as a compliment. Ha! You don't know nothing, do ya, Otto? You haven't got a clue what it is either, have you, Gina? I invite you to consult a dictionary later, Mr. Naruhodo. But this particular specimen is no time bomb, though I confess it has a very similar appearance. Oh, well, thank goodness. But then, what is it? I see, so that's it. Goodness, Mr. Sholmes. Have you seen to the heart of the matter? There are times when I consider my lot most unfair. For I'm fated never to know how it feels to flounder as you do when a puzzle presents itself. But I've learned to accept the hardships that come with being a great detective, Mr. Sato. Here we go. I feel a great deduction coming. Once again, I can draw two conclusions from the scene we see before us. The first is that the inverted nature of the furniture in this room is the work of Drebber himself. Oh, but how could you? And the second conclusion is that small device on the floor there is without a question completely genuine. Please, Mr. Sholmes, you must explain everything. It would be a pleasure. After all, it is a great detective's civic duty to teach Scotland Yard the finer points of the trade. Well, Inspector Gregson seems delighted with the idea anyway. Oh, you deflected the inspector's glare with such a fortitude there, Mr. Sholmes. Well done. You're too kind, my dear madam. I hereby dedicate this great deduction to you. Kindly stand just there, Mr. Sato. Oh, yes. I'd be delighted. So, shall we begin? Once again, Sherlock Sholmes is proud to present his Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. Here we go again. Flip furniture. It's plain to see that this room is in complete disarray. The bed, the table and chairs, the lamp, everything is upside down. Almost as if every item in the room had until recently been happily positioned on the ceiling, before falling straight down to the floor. Every item in the room was on the ceiling. Are you suggesting that? Indeed, the key here is gravity. It would appear that technology has at last succeeded in freeing us from the great pull of the Earth. For the gravity in this room was reversed and then suddenly restored to normality. Goodness! The inverted furniture clearly reveals the truth about the part gravity played in this whole business. I quite understand your skepticism, Mr. Sato. I too was incredulous at first. However, my conviction in my analysis was cemented when I observed this. An anti-gravity device, almost identical to one that featured in a dream of mine only the other day, in fact. But, then why does it have a clock on it? A most relevant question indeed. That is the timing device that controls when the gravity direction will switch. There was clearly a requirement for the engineer to be able to restore normal gravity automatically. And the commotion we heard earlier from the other side of the door was the moment that restoration occurred. Yes, the reason why everything in here has been turned upside down is because of the anti-gravity device. So you see, we need look no further to explain the state in which we now find this room. The direction in which gravity acts in here was reversed by Mr. Drebber, for being restored to normality in an automatic fashion some time later by the timer device. I have witnessed precisely this scene in the dream I once had when I fell out of bed. That's quite the deduction there, good sir. Because gravity was reversed. Missing engineer. Now let's consider the next conundrum. What was our engineer friend's aim? Indubitably, the greatest clue we have to explain his actions is above our heads. Yes, how is it possible that there are footprints all the way up there on the ceiling? A question whose answer will lead us neatly to the truth, my dear madam. The reason there are footprints on the ceiling is because of the nearby skylight. Of course, Drebber's aim was singular, to escape. However, there is but one way into this room, excepting the skylight, that is. Ah. By inverting the gravity in here, Drebber was able to fall conveniently to the ceiling and make his escape via the otherwise inaccessible skylight, leaving those footprints behind in the way. But the ceiling in here is very high, Mr. Sholmes. If the gravity reversal was sudden, would Mr. Drebber have fallen up to the ceiling rather violently? Falling up is both scientifically and philosophically a rather interesting concept, I feel. But the man was cornered with nowhere to run, so escape to the skylight was his only option. You may recall that I found this in the room earlier, which I believe offers a solution. Oh, the rope. To reach the intended destination, what better tool than this rope? By anchoring one end to the wall, the man was able to lower himself safely to the ceiling. Which explains how Drebber was able to escape this room before our arrival. He reversed the pull of gravity and fled via the skylight. That is quite the reach, Mr. Sholmes. And personally, I should very much like to reverse the pull of gravity again now, just for fun. Escape via the skylight. This concludes Sherlock Sholmes' great deduction of this topsy-turvy puzzle. She's completely spellbound. Mr. Sholmes, there's just one thing that troubles me. I would expect nothing less. You're destined to be troubled by just one thing for the rest of your life. The thing is such a thing actually possible? An anti-gravity device, I mean? I would say that with man's current scientific knowledge at the turn of the 20th century, it's no more possible than instantaneous kinesis. But your whole deduction hinges on it. Ah, but my dear fellow, when you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth, however improbable it may be seen. Ah, it's a marvelous line, wouldn't you agree? One of my more enduring pearls of wisdom. I had Iris come up with the exact phrasing. My original was clumsy. Yes, I have a feeling I've read it in something that Mr. Sato lent me once.
Objection!
Actually, there is one other thing, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, the spell's broken at last. The rope you found was on the floor, wasn't it? Indeed it was, in lonely coils near the wall. But if Mr. Drebber had used it to escape in the way you described, wouldn't it still be tied to the wall? Mysteries inevitably unravel in the end, as I think you'll find due to the ropes. And as evidence of such, you need only look at the mystery we face in this room now skillfully unraveled. That argument is as circular as the coils of rope. I think perhaps we might need to give Mr. Sholmes the usual little helping hand. I'm sure with some minor corrections, the great detective's great deduction will lead us to the truth. Yes, you're right. And we must do it quickly before Enoch Drebber gets too far away. If you're ready, then let's resume. Sherlock Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. It's plain to see that this room is in complete disarray. The bed, the table and chairs, the lamp, everything is upside down. Almost as if every item in the room had until recently been happily positioned on the ceiling, before falling straight down to the floor. Every item in the room was on the ceiling. Are you suggesting that? Indeed, the key here is gravity. It would appear that technology has at last succeeded in freeing us from the great pull of the earth. For the gravity in this room was reversed and then suddenly restored to normality. Goodness! The inverted furniture clearly reveals the truth about the part gravity played in this whole business. To think gravity could have been reversed in this very room, I find the whole idea utterly enthralling. Only Mr. Sholmes could conceive of such an explanation. But the man himself admitted it was a scientific impossibility, so... Yes, you're quite right. We must completely discount the idea at once. Oh, that's unusually merciless of you, Mr. Sato. When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. The great detective himself said so, didn't he? While refusing to part with his dreams of anti-gravity devices. Yes, I suppose so. Well, let's see if examining this topsy-turvy scene a little more closely reveals some proof that shows exactly what the gravity in this room was or wasn't doing. The inverted furniture clearly reveals the truth about the part gravity played in this whole business. Word here breaks the laws of Sholmensian gravity theory. Alright, let's find out. Oh, I need to move this out of the way. It's always in my way every time I see it. Wait, why is the vase the only thing that's upright? Well, I wasn't expecting to find pretty much a bunch of flowers in here, that's for sure. Ah, look at that! I know, that slender little vase looks like it's about to topple at any moment, but the flowers are thriving. Somehow, it makes you think of the fragility of life, wouldn't you say? To be honest, Mr. Naruhodo, something else about it made a rather deeper impression on me. That it's upright. I can't believe it. Alright, let's go for it.
Take that!
upright vase clearly reveals the truth about the part gravity played in this whole business. Upon my word, Mr. Naruhodo, you've surpassed yourself by completely turning my argument on its head. Trying to impress your assistant here, perhaps? No one is trying to steal your spotlight here, Mr. Sholmes. Trust me. As you rightly say, though, it appears at first glance that all furniture in the room is upside down. This unassuming slender vase is standing keenly to attention. And unlike the large safe, there is nothing affixing it to the floor. And it's the exception that breaks the rule. In short, much as it pains me, the gravity in this room was never inverted at all. My deepest sympathies for your loss. Oh, poor Mr. Sholmes. But the show must go on. So, let's continue with our deductions. Now that we know this contrivance is not in fact an anti-gravity device, there remains but one other possibility. You don't say. Someone deliberately turned over every piece of furniture in here. Which might sound obvious, but leaves one mystery very much unsolved. Namely, why would anyone choose to do that? Quite, and naturally, there is an explanation. Yes, the reason why everything in here has been turned upside down is because of the anti-gravity device. He's absolutely determined that this device must have something to do with it, isn't he? I'm afraid the lure of an exciting scientific explanation is too strong. Well, there's no doubt that somebody did this. Somebody turned all this furniture over. So whoever it was must have had a reason. I'm afraid nothing comes to mind at all, though. Well, let's look around and see if the answer presents itself. Yes, the reason why everything in here, yep. Why is all the furniture turned upside down? Alright, let's get this out of the way again. Oh. Whoa, what the heck? Writing on the wall. Hello. Or, sorry, not on the wall, on the chair. Look, there's something written on the underside of this armchair. Oh yes, safe 432582. Safe, as in safe and secure? As in secure lockable box, I think. Admittedly more likely. Well, there is a large safe bolted to the floor on the other side of the room, so yes. So you mean this number would let us open it? I wonder why it's written here, though. Okay.
Take that!
Yes, the reason why everything in here has been turned upside down is because of the safe combination. Precisely. I believe, Mr. Naruhodo, that you had a very similar experience once, did you not? Yes, last year, when I bought a lottery ticket and noted the ticket number down on the inside cover of the book just in case. That's it, for people who are forgetful souls at heart and always make a written note of important information. Just keeping the ticket itself safe would be more sensible, I think. And what, pray, happened next, Mr. Naruhodo? When the day of the draw came round, I'd forgotten which book I'd written the number in and had to turn my room upside down to find it. That's it, for people are forgetful souls at heart and always forget where they've noted things down. Not if you always note things in the same place. I actually won the second prize, you know. But I couldn't remember which magazine I'd slipped the ticket into, so I had to turn... Thank you, Mr. Naruhodo, but I believe I proved my point now. Cut him off. Which is that very similar scenario has clearly unfolded in this room. Finding himself requiring access to the safe, the occupant of this room needed the combination code. He remembered that he'd written it on the other side of a piece of furniture but forgot which one, leading to the state in which we now find the room. Yes, Mr. Drebber overturned all the furniture in here, in a desperate hurry to locate the combination code that would unlock the safe. To find the safe combination. Now, let us consider the next conundrum. What was our engineer friend's aim?
Indubitably, the greatest clue we have to explain his actions is above our heads. Yes, how is it possible that there are footprints all the way up there on the ceiling? A question whose answer will lead us neatly to the truth, my dear madam. The reason there are footprints in the ceiling is because of the nearby skylight. Well, if a change in the direction of gravity can't explain it, then how did those footprints get there? Yes, I feel as though that particular mystery has just become even harder to solve. I can't think of any other way to explain it at all. Ooh, life was so much simpler in those halcyon days when gravity could be reversed. It was minutes ago, and those halcyon days never existed in the first place. Well, I suppose we must simply put our faith in Mr. Sholmes and observe the area in more detail. Putting our faith in Mr. Sholmes is what gets us into these situations in the first place. Alright, here we go again. I always have to get rid of that because I feel like it gets in the way. Why are there footprints over here too? Oh wait, why am I noticing this now? There's a shoe up top. It's hard to believe, but there's a shoe up there, look. Oh yes, and there are more footprints in this little balloon too. Perhaps the shoe was thrown up there and became lodged, do you think? If so, then judging from the number of footprints, it must have been thrown up several times. Why would anyone be throwing shoes up at the ceiling, though? Oh dear, that's beyond me, I'm afraid.
Take that!
The reason there are footprints in the ceiling is because of the nearby shoe. And on closer inspection, there are clearly footprints all over the balloon as well. In other words, the aim was never the skylight at all, but the balloon. But for what purpose? A green balloon. That seems somewhat familiar data. Ah! It was a piece of green balloon's envelope that Mr. Naruhodo and Aris found at the scene. And inside the green balloon that Master Goth claimed he saw above the stage when the incident occurred was the second birdcage, the crux of the whole instantaneous kinesis deception. You mean to say? If we assume the balloon in here is a model of the one used on the day, there's a strong possibility something may be concealed inside it. Something our absconder was desperate to retrieve before making a hasty getaway. But the balloon's out of reach. Hence why he resorted to a projectile, namely, the shoe. Ah! Most probably, Drebber intended to tear a hole in the envelope by assailing it with the shoe. However, his efforts were thwarted when the shoe itself became a prisoner of those lofty heights. Oh dear. We desperately need to examine that balloon. If only there was some way we could see inside. You may recall that I found this in the room earlier, which I believe offers a solution. Oh, the rope. To reach the intended destination, what better tool than this rope? Mr. Sholmes has managed to bring the deduction back to the rope. Alright, I have to admit, that was clever. So we just throw the rope up to the balloon and then pull it down to us on the ground? Which is much easier said than done, I feel. And could take us a very long time as well. True. Perhaps we need more surefire method. In fact, we already have one, of course, don't we? The crossbow.
Take that!
To reach the intended destination, what better tool than this crossbow? That was found at the scene, in fact. And in all likelihood belongs to Mr. Drebber. If the man had only brought it away with him that day, he could have avoided losing a shoe at such a critical time as this. Because that's what's important. So, shall we? Your curiosity is deeply stirred, no doubt, my dear fellows. What is it that Enoch Drebber has hidden inside that balloon? A helmet. Ah! What the? A waxwork? Oh, it's the head! Indeed it is, a waxwork head inside a metal mask. A mask that is shut tight and fastened with a strong and quite impenetrable lock. So we can't see the face inside. That means...
Just a moment. This is the head of a waxwork model. Does that mean... Oh goodness!
I see you've joined the dots, Miss Susato. Excellent. Ah, of course, a headless waxwork model. The case of the abducted Madame Tuspel's model that you'd largely solved. It was only the head of the killer that was still missing. Indeed it was. But I believe Madame Tuspels will now have to settle her sizable account with me. This, as you have now surmised, is the head of the infamous professor.
Yes. But why is it here?
This conclusively confirms my suspicions. The man responsible for stealing the professor from Madame Tuspels and returning it to Sans Tête earlier today was none other than Enoch Drebber.
This is incredible. Professor Harebrain's case and the waxwork abduction are... They're inextricably linked by Enoch Drebber's workshop.
Alright, we got that on record now. Well, it appears our logical pleasure cruise has come to an end, my dear fellows. All that remains is, yes, to speak with the architect of this adventure.
The architect?
You mean Mr. Drebber? As it seems quite impossible that he escaped via one of the skylights, obviously the man must still be here in this room. What? And his location should be abundantly clear. If you simply reflect on the journey we've made together during this deduction, Enoch Drebber is right here, somewhere in this room? So, Mr. Naruhodo, will you do the honors? Yes, of course. Mr. Drebber's hiding place must be... the... safe.
Take that!
Before we gained access to this back room, we heard noises from in here. Which tells us that the engineer was still in the building at that point in time. He was in fact searching for the combination to his safe. And pressed for time made no attempt to right the furniture that he overturned in the process. From which we can deduce that his search for the combination happened very recently indeed. In summary, Mr. Enoch Drebber is at this very moment inside the safe. Thus concludes our Lakshum's great deduction of this topsy-turvy puzzle. Inside the safe. Solved. Elementary. So, Mr. Naruhodo, I think perhaps it's time we ended this game of hide and seek, don't you? Alright guys, I'm gonna have to end the video here for today. Thank you all for watching. When we come back, we're finally gonna come face to face with Mr. Enoch Drebber. So anyways guys, until the next one.